Alright, to take off the headlights, you first have to remove the grille. It's just 4 clips over here, and it's pretty straightforward. You pop them off. I'm using a little Swiss Army knife or a flathead screwdriver, and you simply just tug on it real hard, and it comes right off. Now, there are 2 ways to remove the headlight. You can do that by removing the bumper, which is really annoying. Don't feel like doing that. Or you can get a thin 10 mil bolt, 10 mil. There's only 3 bolts holding the headlight in. 1, 2, and 3 under here. It's really hard to see, but you can see the little 10 mil right in there. And first 2 are easy to get to. The third one, they recommend removing the bumper. What I do is I just get a very thin 10 mil on an extension, and that I'm gonna get right now. Hold the bumper down and feed it through until it reaches it, and they're not that tight anyway, so just squeeze it in there. That's it. The bolts is probably gonna fall down. You can grab it from the bottom over here, it's not an issue. The final mounting spot is a little clip that slides into there. That one's pretty simple. Again, just tug onto the light and it will come right off, just like so. You can hear the bolt just drop down, and then you can just remove the bulbs by unscrewing it. Disconnect this is the headlight leveling motor, and the last connector right here. And that's the headlight off. Your indicator wiring just looms back up here, and that's the rest of it. Alright, so here are the Nissan Patrol headlights. As you can see, already did 1, got all done. Got the projector, the halo, demon eyes, and frosted the side markers just to diffuse the light a little bit. And I'll be showing you how to take this apart and install all of those in there. You're going to start with basically disassembling the headlight as far as possible before you put it in the oven. So as you can see, this one has a little connector harness and a little light in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7 screws. Make sure you get all those out. Get the little lights and bulbs out, or the connector at least. And that way you have nothing in the way to get too hot while it's in the oven. It's only going to be there for around 10 minutes. While you're doing this, get the oven preheated to about 250. Should be enough. That's the lowest my oven goes to, and you should be good from there. Alright, I now have everything off. Every screw is out of the housing all around. Oops, that's broken now. Well, take everything off. Make sure you have nothing left in there. You can leave this in. Doesn't really matter. You're going to get rid of that anyways. All the bulb sockets, and should be good to go put in the oven. Here we have the headlight. Try your best to keep it inside the oven, like, you know, a little on its back or on its bottom side. That way you're not getting the lens in contact with any of the hot surfaces inside. Leave it in there for about 10 to 15 minutes, not even 15, 10 at the most, and should be good to start peeling it apart. So I forgot completely to record how to peel the lens off. Essentially what you do is you get a flathead screwdriver and you just shove it in there and just slowly pluck it out. That way, obviously remove all the clips, and I told you before to remove all the screws. Just go around the edge, slowly go around the whole place. That way you won't be putting too much strain on one corner, and then you slowly just like shift it further away from the housing. And then in case the glue does get like cold and or like, you know, hardens up, you can use a heat gun or like a hairdryer just to soften it up again, or put it back in the oven for a short amount of time. That way you can get it all around the edge. There are a few little tabs on these headlights, one here, and I believe there's one or two at the bottom. Sorry, just one at the bottom right there. Actually two. Yep, there we go. The second one, again, make sure you pry these back. That way you get it out. And it's pretty straightforward. It should come off pretty easy. As you can see right here, this is an opened one. All the, you know, you can see all the sealant in there. The type of glue is called butyl glue, and you can get on like the Retrofit source, or you can just go to AutoZone or Advanced Auto or any auto shop and look for window sealant glue. It's like a roll of like a rubbery glue that you can just like stretch out and like just lay it back in there. That's how I sealed it back up. Again, I completely forgot to record this, so here it is. After the fact video, I guess, showing how it all comes off. As you can see, here are the tabs somewhere. I can't remember. Yeah, here's one, and here's one. There's only 3 tabs for these headlights. Some headlights are a lot harder, some headlights are a lot easier. These are one of the easiest ones, honestly. It doesn't take much to take these apart. Well, now that you have the headlight apart, the lens off and everything, you can see it's very simple inside. It's just a reflector bowl with a little splitter thing. I don't know what it's called exactly. All you have to do is simply unscrew that from the bottom and it pops right off. And this is basically your usual projector retrofit. You got the projector, shroud, and the hardware. Usually these hardware kits come with different plates to adapt so that it screws into your factory headlight with no issues. Now I'm choosing to paint the reflector bowl black, but this is just to show how simple it is to install one of these. Take one of your adapter plates. This is the rubber ring to help seal the headlight out. I have an H4, well, the factory patrols have an H4 bulb, so I'm going to use this one. And we need the locking ring right here. There's the other plate, the bulb holder, which is right here, which is held in by 3 screws. I just removed that, I put it in the bag for now. That way, you know, in the end is when I need it, I don't need it right now. Simply grab your projector right here. Make sure it's it's the right way up. This one has a top marking, so you just make sure it's facing the right way up. Pass the wire through the hole. Actually, no, wait, first get the rubber ring on top. That way it goes on. Pass the wiring through. Just like that. You can see it poking through. There's a little gap at the bottom, so I can leave the wire there so it's secured. And then just gotta put the little adapter ring right here. Actually, I'm gonna flip it backwards so that I have more threads to grab when I tie in it. And get the locking ring. Simply thread that on. A good thing about this kit, I simply got it off eBay, but the projector itself has a little key in there along with the adapter ring. That way it's guaranteed that it's facing the right way, and it's horizontal to the factory bulb position. Some projectors do require some a little installation back onto the card to make sure your cutoff is straight and not like all wonky. I'm obviously going to get it all aligned, like the headlight level all matched up and everything once it's all done, but this one really helped simply because it's already installed. And you can see I'm just tightening the locking ring as far as I can. I'll use a pair of needle nose pliers to secure it 100%, but this is just to see how it looks. And yep, there we go. It's secure now. Positive and ground for the high beam switch, or the high beam, little blade thing inside. And you can see how it looks. It's simply just a projector right now. Now these shrouds, they come with an inbuilt square halo, which I'm also going to be wiring up. And as of now, I'm going to just, they're also designed to just clip into the projector with these little tabs here, but I also always recommend to put some amount of glue or epoxy or hot glue just to give it some extra strength so it doesn't like vibrate off over time. I take this thing off-roading, so it will hit a few bumps here and there, so there's a chance of it falling off. And these simply click in. Let me get the wire through. Simple as that. That's just clipped in right now. I'm going to put some epoxy on the tabs behind it, that way it's 100% secure, but I want to take it all apart and paint this black, so that's why I'm just loosely putting everything in just to make sure everything fits and everything is in the right place and I'm not missing anything, you know, as far as the whole projector retrofit goes. So now that I've painted the housing all black, I am going to install my demonized strip on the inside of the shroud right there. And then I'm going to also get my hot glue gun ready to glue little dots on the areas where the shroud clips in, which is right here, all those little places, so that's secured in place. And then I'm going to bundle all the wires together and just put a zip tie, that way it all follows through that little gap right there. While I'm doing this, I popped off the shroud. It's just 3 screws, which is right 1, 2, and the third one, 3 right there. I popped off all those screws, got out of the lens because I want to like paint the little lens over here. That comes off by just popping 2 little tabs right here and here. And I'm just going to paint with this right here, just to give it a matte finish so it's not like 100% clear and diffuses the light a little bit. As you can see, this is the little key over here that helps center it and make sure it's 100% aligned with the original headlight bulb below socket. It is going to be a little tight due to the number of wires that's coming through. I'm constantly trying to put pressure onto the headlight itself, that way I can push the thread socket out as far as possible. Still going. That's good enough for now. Now you can see we have all 3 wires. This is my high beam splitter. This is my my halos, and these are my demonized. But the high beam splitter goes straight into the OEM headlight socket. I just gotta ground this out separately and put a little connector on this, so you can just slide it into the H4 socket. This is gonna go to the little corner light over here. I'm gonna tap it off there. Now, because I do not, now that everything's in and it's all organized, I can cut the zip tie back off. And because I do not need the ballast for the halo, I do not need that outside the car, I can keep the ballast inside the headlight. I'm going to mount it right around here. It's around there, just so that it's inside and it's less of a wiring mess. And some of the wires stick out through the little parking light hole. Just this right here. Do do is simply now this way there's one less thing in the way on the outside of the headlight. I'm just going to glue this down over here, this flat spot here, so it doesn't move around, and that should be good for now. And then our next step would basically be just putting the lens back on. So I cut off the connector for the high beam switch, and I put a little male connector in just because of the factory headlights are H4, so I can just plug this into the high beam section, and I'm going to tap the ground into this area right here, so it has a common ground. Then you have the ground, low beam, high beam, and ground. The audio is all weird, so I'm gonna voice over this part. I'm talking about how the indicator, the headlight motor plugs stay the same. You don't do anything with them, and your low beam is an your low beam is an H4 bulb, where the top is the low beam, the right is the ground, the left is the high beam, and we'll be tapping off the existing little corner running light. It's just a black and a blue that powers up the halo because I want it on when the running lights are on. And then I talk about how I'm going to solder it, put some heat shrink around it to seal it up so it doesn't short or anything. And then I talk about how the demonize are on its own harness that plugs straight to the battery. And since it's on a switch, you don't really have to plug it into an ignition fuse. At least this kit didn't require it, which is why I didn't do it. And then, yeah, now I'm just plugging in the headlight motor and the indicator harness. And I'm just showing you the three plugs that use 3 wires that are going into the H4 socket, high beam, low beam, and ground. Here I'm just finishing up the wiring. Blue goes to red, black goes to black, and simple as that for the halos. If you want to power it up with the driving light. And here it almost drops. Luckily my brother catches it. And as soon as I turn it on, I don't know what happened to the GoPro lens, but you can see it's on with the driving light, with the running light rather. So now the halo and my little circle running light are my running lights, obviously. I do want to find a white one eventually for the running light. And then I think now I just turned on the low beam just to show that it works, and trying to show the cutoff to see that, you know, it's working and it looks really good. There we go. And yeah, repeat the same thing on the other side. You should be good to go wiring wise. Alright, so now that the wiring for the high beam, low beam, and halos are done, now I'm just simply putting the headlight back in. The bottom lower right corner by the parking light, there's a little clip, so you just gotta smack that in a little bit. and there's a rubber seal around the indicator area. Make sure that's in place. And then again, just align all the holes, tighten all the bolts. Now the top two obviously are very easy. The bottom one I struggled with. As you'll see in the video, I'll get the top two just lightly screwed in, that way there's some room to play around. And then I move to the one behind the bumper. And like before, push down the bumper, slide your socket in. And what I used was I went from the wheel well and put my arm inside just to get the bolt lined up. That way there's, I'm working from both ends where the socket's holding the bolt in place and I'm using my hand to align it with the hole. It took me a couple of tries to get it right, but eventually I got it in. And then, yeah, just tightened it all the way down, move to the other bolts, tighten those down, and you're good to go. Next is obviously the grill. And as mentioned before, the grill clips into 3 areas, one in the middle and the bottom corners of each headlight. Just tap it in on either side. The middle one will naturally go back in, and then get the 4 plastic clips for the top, and that'll be it. This is complete installation. I will say one thing: just make sure you have your demon eye wiring just exposed or like easy to reach to, because at this point I don't have to take the headlights out anymore, and now I'm going to move on to hooking up the demon eyes. Now this is a quick explanation of how I did the demon eye kit. This had 3 wires, a red, black, and a blue. I'm assuming power, ground, and ignition. I had a little harness that connected the 2 headlights. I tucked it all behind the grill and followed the OEM harness. But for some reason the ignition source barely did anything, so I just had it hooked up directly to the battery. It barely pulled any amps, so I just have it off with the remote, and that's it. And it's been working fine for the past few days. No drainage of the battery or anything. Now here's the demonstration of everything on the car. Here are the demon eyes working with this little remote thing. As you can see, it's changing colors, it strobes, it flashes, it fades on and off. That's a cool little gimmick, I guess. And here we have the halos on. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but they are pretty bright and very pronounced. In real life, you can see the square very clearly. It's not, faded out like it is on camera. And I think it's a really good look for the car, where, it matches the boxiness of the Patrol. And here we finally have the low beams on. As they're warming up, you can see the cutoff on the pillar and on that car in the distance. It's a nice strong cutoff, very bright, a lot brighter than the factory bluish fake halogens that come on the 2018 SuperSafaris. And yep, here's the final result of everything. I'm definitely going to replace the inner parking lights with something white and LEDs. And here you can see the side markers flashing. Like I said, I wanted to frost it out just to diffuse the light so it's not like a bright orange bulb in there that you can see. It also helps hide the bulb too when it's off. And it's just to give it a slightly different look from factory, as opposed to just putting a projector and leaving the rest alone. I like messing with the whole thing. And here we have the whole car all done.